Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 11 of the Dungeon Lore series. In this series, I hope to explain the origins of each dungeon in Final Fantasy XIV, and maybe expand a bit on things you might not know. This episode's dungeon is the Dzemael Darkhold. Within Coerthas, the Holy See of Ishgard has established its hold over the snowy region, in many settlements and structures, many of which built with purpose to help combat the Dravanian horde perpetually attempting to overthrow the city-state. Originally, the complex that came to be known as the Dzemael Darkhold was nothing more than a natural set of caves that delved into the mountains of Coerthas. With the Dragonsong War continuing, however, the leader of House Dzemael, one Count Dzemael, realised that the tunnels could be of great use as an anti-dragon measure, especially in terms of a safe refuge from the invading dragons. The caves were therefore expanded upon, smoothing the current passages and creating new ones for the Knights of Ishgard to inhabit. This construction work continued until the uncovering of an ancient-looking altar with a large statue of some kind of fiend were held. Ishgardians attempted to remove the statue from its resting place, when suddenly it came to life in the form of Batral, a powerful void scent, along with the rift opening simultaneously, releasing many more void scent into the caves. After some time, the knights gathered their forces in what was to be an attempt at retaking the mines by defeating the void scent. However, unbeknownst to them, the Garleans, allegedly led by Neil Vandanus, chose that moment to enter and attack the Darkhold. Caught between the two forces of the Voidsent and the Garleans, the Ishgardian knights were forced to scatter in earnest, with very few escaping and surviving the ordeal. After this, House Dzemael eventually sent more of their knights to guard and prevent entry to the Darkhold, as they were unsure of how much of the Garlean force remained within. The Darkhold provoked interest within the three grand companies of Eorzea, as well as the crime syndicate known as the Faces of Mercy, as both parties wanted to discover the remaining secrets within the Darkhold. The grand companies intrigued as to why the Garleans also took such an interest, with the stocks of crystals being the main suspect. This also included the whereabouts of the Voidsent lurking within. After the Calamity, the Darkhold was found to be long abandoned by the Garlean 7th Legion, as the plan set in motion by Neil Vandanus reached fruition. However, the amount of void scent within has vastly increased, and now they fully control the caves. Adventurers, now known by most as the Warrior of Light thanks to their triumph over Garuda, Lady of the Vortex, have in the meantime been improving their reputation within their grand companies. Following a promotion to a first-class sergeant, they will find that their commander has a mission for them. It seems every company still wishes to delve into the Darkhold to exterminate the Voidsent that threatens Coerthas and further, before the beasts themselves can make a move. Alternatively, adventurers may also speak with Sir Cariote, stationed at the Observatorium, who also sends us there. In both cases, the party speaks of Ophiel outside of the entrance to the hold, who implores the adventurer to rid the caverns of any trace of the hordes of the Voidsent lurking within. Upon proceeding through the entrance to the hold, there are immediate signs of where House Dzemael had begun transforming the corridors and caverns into more uniform, castle-like hallways, with brickwork half completed and archways fully constructed. Unsurprisingly, the majority of enemies within this dungeon are the Voidsent that spilled forth from the rift inadvertently opened by the Ishgardians. One noticeable thing within the hold is that many of the open rooms and side areas are all marked with individual posts for soldiers, showing how fleshed out the movement plan really was. After the first turn of the dungeon, the party moves past the would-be guardhouse, which overlooks a window into the grand hall further down. At this point, a large Ahriman appears from the direction of the entrance and shocks the party with its highly damaging gaze ability. However, the party seems to notice a distinct weakness in the floating eye once they and it step into the nearby cluster of crystals, causing it to become vulnerable and hugely reducing the damage of its abilities. Passing round towards the area marked as the Chocobo Stables, the party finds the first of several Magitech terminals located within Dzemael Darkhold. Unlike the ones found in Totorak, these do not need any sort of item, but merely require a member of the party to stand inside the field until the countdown completes and the nearby door opens. Heading around the tunnel leads the party into the Gullet, where they find 2 more terminals that need activating. Once the door to the Grand Hall opens, the Ahriman flies past the party and into the hall, where it turns to face them. In this large open room, there are several more deposits of crystals dotted around, each with a safe haven from the Ahriman's magic. During the fight, the party must move to these areas to avoid taking massive damage from the Ahriman. However, after a couple of blasts, the crystal deposit loses its luster, forcing the party to move around to the next. Upon defeat, a Magitech transporter activates towards the rear of the room, allowing the party to proceed. The party appears on the cliffside, and the first noticeable thing here are the several bright orange crystal deposits surrounding them. Unlike the earlier crystals, however, these are very unstable and full of corrupted ether, as on approach they react and explode, damaging any nearby. This area for the most part covers what would have been the training hall, used for the preparation of knights and the like from Ishgard. Parties can descend the cliff here to obtain several treasure coffers. However, to proceed further, they must follow along the cliff around to another tunnel, passing several more corrupted crystals and leading their way into the feasting hall. Here, a large ogre-like void scent appears from one of the adjacent tunnels, known as Taulurd. During this fight, the ogre summons his brethren to attack the party, where they cast magic and throw stones from the higher ledges. These ogres are unassailable, forcing the party to focus on Taulurd. When injured, similarly to Tangata of Halatali, he ignites his fists and horns and becomes more powerful. Upon his defeat, the other ogres flee, and another transporter appears. The party finds themselves in another large room, known as the would-be Knight's Quarters, home to any soldiers and warriors that would have taken refuge within the Darkhold. However, this room is instead teeming with void scent and risen skeletons alike. There are several more corrupted crystals, as well as a Magitech barrier blocking the way. Party must again activate the terminals found around the room by staying in them. However, it does mean a party member must take several hits from a corrupted crystal nearby. Proceeding past the barrier, the party finds another large group of enemies, next to which are more corrupted crystals, until they round a corner and finally arrive at the end of the excavated tunnels, leading to the altar of Saint Denison. Here, the huge void scent known as Betrayal lurks on the ceiling, dropping down and attacking the party. This creature is the same one that was originally the large fiend-like statue found by House Dzemael, and the one responsible for flooding the tunnels with more of its kind. The room itself is filled with yet more corrupted crystals, with a very large deposit on the ceiling from where Betrayal descended. During the fight, Betrayal will occasionally channel onto one of the nearby crystal deposits, empowering himself and making himself practically invincible and being able to use Desolation, a large laser-like ability. The party must destroy the crystal to which he is tethered, allowing him to be damaged once again. In between and after the crystals have been destroyed, Betrayal empowers himself once again, swinging his large swords around and in front of him, as well as spewing void pitch onto party members, damaging them if the puddle he leaves is stood in. Upon defeat, he collapses and disappears back to whence he came. And that brings us to an end of the story and lore of Dzemael Darkhold. A brave and ingenious idea to defend against one foe from House Dzemael turned into having to face perhaps an even darker one. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel for more Final Fantasy XIV lore. And I'll see you next time in the Aurum Vale.